Hey everyone, it's me, Andrea from Andy's Corner, and I'm so glad you joined me today for today's story. We pause the stories in Genesis and we go over to Job because it shows that this is what chronologically happened. The book of Job was probably written about 400 years after the flood. So there is so much going on in Job. We're going to take it piece by piece, okay? So let's get started. Job chapter 1 says, There once was a man named Job who lived in the land of Uz. Not Oz, like the Wizard of Oz. No, Uz, or Uz. I like Uz better. He was blameless, a man of complete integrity. He feared God and stayed away from evil. He had 7 sons and 3 daughters. How many children is that? 10 children. That's amazing. He owned 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels, 500 teams of oxen, and 500 female donkeys. He also had many servants. He was, in fact, the richest person in that entire area. Imagine the land that you have to own if you own 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels, oxen, 500 donkeys. Oh, you have to own so much land. That's crazy. Okay. Now, here's a glimpse of how it says that Job was partly like part of what he did as a righteous man. And by the way, righteous man doesn't mean he was perfect or he didn't sin. It just meant that he was upright in the eyes of God. So, verse 4 says Job's sons would take turns preparing feasts in their homes, and they would also invite their 3 sisters to celebrate with them. When these celebrations ended, sometimes after several days, Job would purify his children. He would get up early in the morning and offer a burnt offering for each and every one of them. For Job said to himself, Perhaps my children have sinned and have cursed God in their hearts. So he did that to offset their sin, trying to cover their sin with those sacrifices. And Job did this regularly. One day, the sons of God, which do you remember who the sons of God are from our other videos, came to present themselves before the Lord. And the accuser, Satan, came with them. Where have you come from? The Lord asked Satan. Satan answered the Lord, I have been patrolling the earth, watching everything that's going on. Then the Lord asked Satan, Have you noticed my servant Job? He's the finest man in all the earth. He is blameless, a man of complete integrity. He fears God and stays away from evil. Pause. Now, that's amazing that God Almighty was able to say that about Job. Is he able to say that about you? I pray that God is able to say that about me. I kind of doubt it, but at least I'll try. Then Satan replied to the Lord, Yes, but Job has good reason to fear God. You have always put a wall of protection around him and his home and his property. You have made him prosper in everything he does. Look how rich he is. But reach out and take away everything he has, and he will surely curse you to your face. So what Satan is saying here is like the only reason he's a good guy is because you've given him good things and you've been good to him. So he has no reason to hate you. Then God says, All right, you may test him, the Lord said to Satan. Do whatever you want with everything he possesses, which is everything he owns. But don't harm him physically. So Satan left the Lord's presence. One day, when Job's sons and daughters were feasting at the oldest brother's house, a messenger arrived at Job's home with this news. Your oxen were plowing with the donkeys feeding beside them when the Sabaeans raided us. They stole all the animals and killed all the farmhands. I am the only one who escaped to tell you." While he was still speaking, another messenger arrived with this news: "The fire of God has fallen from heaven and burned up your sheep and all of the shepherds. I am the only one who escaped to tell you." While he was still speaking, a third messenger arrived with this news: "Three bands of Chaldean raiders have stolen all your camels and killed all your servants. I'm the only one who escaped to tell you." Now, that's pretty bad. I mean, all of his animals and his farmhands are gone. All of his sheep and his shepherds are gone. Now, all of his camels are gone too, and his servants. You think that would be enough? No, 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 no. Verse 18, it says, "While he was still speaking, another messenger arrived, a fourth messenger, with this news: Your sons and daughters were feasting in their oldest brother's home. Suddenly, a powerful wind swept in from the wilderness and hit the house on all sides. The house collapsed, and all your children are dead. I am the only one who escaped to tell you." Now, everything Job owns and his family, except his wife, but his children, his beloved 10 children, are gone in one day. I mean, it said while they were still speaking, that kind of shows us that it happened in one day. Can you imagine that many things going wrong on one day? And how would you handle that? I cannot even imagine. My heart breaks for Job. But let's see how Job responds. Job stood up and tore his robe in grief. Now, this happened all the time throughout the Bible. When people were grieving or sad or angry, they tore their robe. They're like, oh, to show the angst of what they were going through. Then he shaved his head, another sign of grief, and he fell to the ground. But listen to this. He fell to the ground to worship. Could you imagine? All this happened. He didn't fall to the ground and curse God and was like, "Why, God, why have you done this? I hate you." No, he fell to the ground and worshiped. Now, listen to what he says. He said, "I came naked from my mother's womb, and I will be naked when I leave. The Lord gave me what I had, and the Lord has taken it away. Praise the name of the Lord." And that's how he ended it. Praise the name of the Lord. Now, then it says, in all this, Job did not sin by blaming God. He could have easily blamed God, but he didn't. He said, praise the name of the Lord. Man, that is amazing faith. Now, what do you learn from this chapter about God? I know there's so much going on, like Satan is talking to God and God allows him to do things. I mean, yeah, that's what it looks like. But the encouraging thing is that it is still within God's control. Satan couldn't go to God and was like, "I'm going to just kill Job. Hope you're okay with that." God's like, "Nope. You can mess around with his possessions, but do not touch him physically." Satan is still have to be obedient to God. God is in control of this whole situation. Now, I know it's so frustrating and confusing to say, why would God allow that? And that's a great question. Why does God allow suffering? Well, throughout this book, we're going to explore that. Why does God allow it? And Job will ask that, why God? And let's find out if God actually answers why. But I think the more important thing is what we learn about God. through our suffering. So what I can see here is that Job was such a good example of a righteous man. Like, God said that, but then when all those things happened to him, he didn't sin by cursing God or asking why or complaining. He still said, God gives, which he did. Everything that Job had, Job acknowledged that he got from God. And then God takes away. So Job recognizes that everything we have comes from God, and he has the authority to take it away if he wants. But Job said, praise the name of the Lord. Wow, what an encouraging word for us. So I pray right now, I just want you to focus on, maybe there's some things going on in your life and you're like, why, God, why is this happening? Ah, poor me. And just stop, step back, and just worship. Yes. Because God gives and God takes away. And there might not be a reason, or there might not be a reason that you will understand. But go to God and seek God and his presence and seek to know God more and worship him and say, you know what? He gives and he takes away, but praise the name of the Lord. Wow. I pray that I can do that in my own life, and I pray that you can do that in your own life. Now, that's today, but it doesn't end. It keeps getting worse. So don't miss episode 11. Don't miss the next episode, because we're going to find out what happens to Job next. Crazy. All right. Bye. See you later.